Well, I was going to thank people, but I think if you start listening to all the people that contributed to this, you probably will want supper. So I do thank those people who have brought us here today, and for Governor Baker for signing it in a moment. Alice Wolf. Who first filed the comparable work bill with me, Senator Spilka, who co-signed it with me as the lead sponsor in the Senate this year, and Representatives Jay Livingstone and Ellen Story, leadership in Senate Pro Tem, Speaker Pro Tem, Pat Haddad for carrying it over the finish line. I want to thank especially the people who did so much work, which are our staffs. All of the legislative staffs for all of us really did the work for this, and I'd like a special call out to them. And then I want to thank the Women's Bar Association, Mass Now, and the Commission on the Status of Women, who organized the Equal Pay Coalition and mobilized organizations all over the state. I also want to thank Attorney General Maura Healey, she and her staff worked really hard to make this a better bill. And I want to thank the Alliance for Business Leadership and the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce for leading the way in bringing the business community into the conversation and making it a better bill. I also wanted to thank the Chair of Labor and Workforce Development, Senator Dan Wolf, and his staff for their important role in making this a good bill. I want to thank the women of the Everett School cafeteria workers, and they are represented here today. Dorothy Simonelli, would you raise your hand? Because you're. In 1989, these women brought a lawsuit that said, we do just as hard work, just as skilled work, just as responsible work as the male janitors, and we are not paid the same. It took 10 years for them to get a final judgment, and they lost. And at that point, Jackie Cook from the Women's Bureau and Alice Wolf and I said, the court said, we didn't define comparable work, we'll define comparable work. So we've been working on that. How long is that? That's a long time. But this session, many of the allies I mentioned and the legislators that I mentioned at the beginning and our staffs got together and said, let's find the real barriers, the other real barriers to equity. And that's what's in this bill. Allowing people to talk to their colleagues and fellow employees about their pay. Preventing an employer from asking you how much you made in your last job, which keeps people at the same level, lower level, throughout their careers. I think perhaps the most important thing is the self-assessment, the self-audit, because so often discrimination, as my colleagues, Senator Spilka said, discrimination isn't intentional. It isn't conscious. And when it's pointed out, people can take action. So it incentivizes that. So this is a stronger bill today, thanks to all the people that worked on it. It will make a difference for the women and their families, and also for other people who face unintentional bias and discrimination. Our daughters and granddaughters, and our sons and grandsons, will face a fairer work environment than we have. This will help reduce income inequality. Fewer women will raise their children in poverty, and those children will have a better chance to succeed in life and to succeed in school. And the achievement gap, this is probably the most important thing we can do to reduce the achievement gap is to raise families out of poverty. But our work is not done. The occupations that are traditionally women's work, caring for children, caring for seniors, caring for the disabled, making and serving food, those jobs are mostly all underpaid. Our work is not done until those in the caring professions are paid what their work is really worth.
So I guess you can call me Madam Papelbon. I came in as the closer. I'm here as the closer. So all of the things that have been said, I just want to say ditto. But I want to add a couple of people who specifically need to be thanked. But before I say that, behind me are heroines and heroes on whose shoulders I was allowed to stand to be part of this process. And they have to be thanked over and over again. And we have today, but I want you to remember them because I'm going to give you a charge later on that will have to do with this. So I want to personally thank a couple of people who were loaned to me by the Attorney General, who was such an amazing supporter of this. Gabrielle Viella, Genevieve Nato, who were absolutely my brains to help push this over the finish line, as well as Mike Firestone. And I want to give special thanks to 3 men, and that is Brad McDougall, John Regan, and Rich Lord, because they came to the table and said, we are here to get to yes. So I really have to thank them for following the lead of other business organizations, including the Business Roundtable and, of course, the Boston Chamber of Commerce. But I want to give you a charge. We're here today to change a culture. The governor, who has shown that he is changing his culture by putting amazing, strong women next to him. Not behind him, but next to him. The Senate President, who has put amazing women next to him to govern. And of course, my dear friend, who was the first speaker in history to appoint more women to leadership positions than any other. And I have to thank you. So we've talked about our children, our daughters, our granddaughters. I have 3 granddaughters that I will be so proud to say to them someday, please go to the State House and look at my name on a very important piece of legislation. But my charge is to change the culture. We have to bring up our sons to remind them that there is no difference, that they should revere and push forward their sisters, their wives, and of course their mothers, and be the culture change. So you have to be that culture change with all of us, because we've committed to it. Now you have to go out and raise your sons and daughters to know that there is no difference, that equal means equal, regardless of its pay, its gender, its religion, it's your, the person you love. We are all equal. And that only happens if you bring up your children to be very firm in that belief. So thank you all today.